teacher?
Page is 88. Page 88. Okay, so we're going to start with the grammar, the using auxiliary do for emphatic stress. Okay. When do we use this? We usually do this only with do, does, and did. Okay, it's more common to use do, does, and did for this. What is empathic? Empathic stress is when you want to make sure that the person you are talking to understand what you are saying. In Spanish, we don't use it in the same way because remember that in Spanish, we don't use auxiliaries. So we use it in a different way. Okay? In Spanish, for example, when somebody tells you, have you eaten? And you answer, yes. Bueno, ¿ya comiste? Y contestas, sí, ya comí. Y 5 segundos después te van a preguntar lo mismo. ¿Ya comiste? Sí, ya comí. Y empiezas a subir el tono, ¿no? De voz, empiezas a subir tu tono de voz. 1 minuto, 2 minutos después te vuelven a preguntar, ¿ya comiste? Y entonces, ¿qué es lo que hacemos en español? Subimos el tono de voz.
Sí.
Sí, ya comí, ¿no? Ajá. Bueno, that is the same, but in English, we use the auxiliaries. Like I told you, we use the auxiliaries do, did, and does are the most common, okay? Because in the case of the other auxiliaries, we use the auxiliaries. Can, will, must, have, has, had, etc. We use it the same way. Yes, I can help you. You use the stress, no? Or, yeah, I have done it. So you use the emphatic stress, okay? But it's more noticeable, más notable, it's more noticeable when we use do, does, and did, okay? So it says, grammar, using auxiliary do for emphatic stress. To add emphatic stress to an affirmative statement in the simple present or past tense, use do or did before the base form of the verb. For example, even if I don't have a head for figures, I do have a way with words. Okay, so we use the emphatic with the auxiliary. I do have a way with words. He did like most of his colleagues, but he didn't like his boss. So we give the emphasis to the auxiliary. Now remember, we are using this in affirmative sentences, okay? So that means that the verbs don't change. It doesn't matter what auxiliary you are using. The auxiliary doesn't change. I mean, the verb doesn't change. For example, in this sentence, he did like most of his colleagues. You are using the verb in present. You don't use the verb in past because you have the auxiliary. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why you have to use the verb in simple form. Be careful, use a base form after a form of the auxiliary do. That's what I explained to you. She has an eye for details. So she has an eye for detail. She has an eye for detail. She does have an eye for detail. Not she does has. That is incorrect. He liked his job. He did like his job. No, he did liked. Okay? Hello, Yoali.
Oli.
Oli. Okay. So I'm going to repeat the information because Yoali is here. So like I told you before, we use empathic stress when we want to make sure that the other people understand what we are saying. Okay?
Es como reafirmar, ¿cierto?
Exactly. It's like a reaffirmation, exactly like that, no? Remember, we only use the form of do, did, or does, no? And we use it before the verb. Even if I don't have a head for figures, I do have a way with words. So we use the stress on the auxiliary. I do have a way with words. He did like most of his colleagues, but he didn't like his boss. So we use the stress on the auxiliary. And be careful, no? Use a base form after a form of the auxiliary do. She has an eye for detail. She does have an eye for detail. So we give the stress on the auxiliary. Remember, when you are using this structure, we don't make a change to the verb. The verb stays in simple form. Not she does has, that is incorrect. He liked his job. He did like his job. No, he did liked. This is incorrect. Okay? Yes or yes?
Okay, he does like.
Yeah, he does like. No,
Okay,
no, he does likes.
in
That is not
present
correct.
tense. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, very good. Any questions with this?
Oh, sure.
Joali, Altair, Ale, any questions?
No.
No? Okay, remember, this is only for affirmative sentences. In negative sentences, you use the auxiliary, normal. She doesn't have an eye for details. And you just give the emphasis, to the auxiliary. She doesn't have an eye for detail. He didn't like his job. Okay? Like normal, like the normal way we use it. Okay? Now, we have here some pronunciation. It says, listen to emphatic stress to the auxiliary do, then listen and repeat. So remember, we give the emphasis to the auxiliary. Okay, so please listen.
Listen to emphatic stress on the auxiliary do. I do have an ear for music.
She does have an ear for music.
He did like his colleagues. Now listen again and repeat. I do have an ear for music.
She does have an ear for music.
He did like his colleagues.
Okay, any questions with that?
No,
No.
teacher.
Okay, so as you can see, the emphatic stress is only for that, okay? You can use a normal sentence, but if you use a normal sentence, that means that you have to use normal speech. She has an ear for music. You don't give any kind of stress. I have an ear for music. She has an ear for music. He liked his colleagues. So you don't give any kind of emphasis. If you want to give emphasis, then you use the auxiliary. But remember, it's only for emphatic stress, only when you want to make sure that the other person understands your point of view. Only for that situations, that's when you use the emphatic stress. Now, when you are asked a question, you can ask emphatic stress. For example, let's imagine that somebody asks you, do you like rock and roll music? You can give an emphatic.
I do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So you give an emphasis in the auxiliary. Yes, I do. Because a normal answer is yes, I do. But if you want to make it more emphatic, then you can exaggerate the stress in the auxiliary. Yes, I do. Okay? So this works with questions, with sentences, etc., etc. Okay, okay, the emphatic stress. Let's go for the grammar booster. We're going to practice this a little bit more, and then we do the activities from the book.
Ciento cuarenta y...
No, 140. 140.
140.
140. Okay, it says grammar for writing emphatic stress. In informal writing, you can underline the verb be, a modal, or an auxiliary verb to indicate emphatic stress. The addition of do for emphatic stress does not require underlining, doesn't require underlining. In more formal writing, with the exception of adding the auxiliary do, emphatic stress is avoided. For example, she's good at math, isn't she? Even though it was getting late, I would have liked to stay longer. I suddenly realized that I had been there before. But she didn't answer her phone, but she did text me. Okay? So as you can see here in these exercises or in these examples, in the case of writing, only in the case of writing, you have to underline the word you want to stress. Okay? For example, is, would, had. You underline that word when writing, okay, to indicate that that is an emphatic stress word. Okay? But in more formal writing, it is not necessary to underline anything. For example, this sentence is more formal than the others. She didn't answer her phone, but she did text me. In this case, it's not necessary to underline anything. You don't need to stress anything, okay? Only in informal writing is where you underline the word that you want to make emphatic, okay? In the modal like expressions, had better, underline better, not had. He better pay attention in class. Okay? Remember what is the meaning of this expression? Más le vale o más te vale o más nos vale. So in this case, in this specific case, because had is in contraction, it is not possible to underline had. So that's why we underline better. Remember that this expression is always used in contraction. Okay? So it's not possible to underline had because had is part of the contraction. So we contract, sorry, so we stress better. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions so far? No questions, Yoali, Altaida, Andrés, Ale?
No, I didn't. No,
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't.
All right. Altair, Andrés, Yoali, no questions?
No.
No? Andrés? Andrés.
Andy.
No, teacher.
Oh, okay, very good. Altair, do you have any questions?
No.
No, okay. Let's go. Let's do the activity letter A. It says use the prompts to write B's response with emphatic stress. Add the auxiliary do if possible, and underline stress verb be, modal or other auxiliary verb. So please do it. If you have any questions, you can ask. Don't forget to use the auxiliaries when necessary, okay? Remember that we are using emphatic answers. When you're ready, you tell me. You ready, guys?
No.
Ready, teacher. I don't know.
Don't worry, we'll check the answer.